Hello and welcome to the channel, and welcome back to my journey with my 1983 Lotus Esprit S3. So it's been a while since I've done anything to the Esprit on camera. In fact, I think it's well over a year since I last produced a video. But we're rapidly approaching winter, and there's one or two things I'd like to sort out before we get there. So earlier this year, the engine was cutting out when it was hot, particularly at low revs after a drive out and you're coming through the village. You're having to stop at traffic lights and junctions, and it just kept cutting out. And when it cooled down, it was fine. So it's obviously an issue with heating to some respects, but I ended up replacing sort of pretty much the whole ignition system. So I replaced the plugs, the leads. I replaced sort of inside here is a lumination module, the ignition coil, and load balance resistor. They all got changed. Just so you can see down there, distributor, changed the distributor cap, and also changed the rotor arm. Now hopefully you can see that's in focus. The rotor arm that was fitted to this is a rev limiting rotor arm, and just on the outside of here is stamped 3,325 RPM. Now that doesn't sound like very high revs, but I'll come back to that in a second. So what there is this is the contact that makes contact with the points. And there's this sprung loaded weight on the back. And as the spindle rotates, it gets faster and faster. Eventually that weight will counteract the spring, and it'll do that, and that will break the contact, so there'll be no spark getting to the plugs, which then obviously in turn will slow the engine down a bit, and then the weight will come back under the spring load and the contact we made again. Now it's designed to do that not at 3,325 RPM, but at, if I do my maths, 6,650 RPM, because in a four-stroke engine, the distributor is turning at half the speed of the engine, because obviously you get each cylinder's fired every other rotation of the engine. So there was this type of rotor arm in there. I've actually replaced it with a standard one because I don't know. I think there's little issue with it being rev limited. I'm not going to drive it past the red line myself. And the only other option would be, okay, well, what if, I don't know, the throttle cable snapped and it just went a bit rogue and just kept whizzing away? Well, I'd be pretty quick to turn the ignition off at that point. Seemed to fix the problem, at least for a while. I think I'm still kind of planning my route to come back through the village from the other end, sort of closest to where we live, so that there's fewer traffic lights, fewer junctions to have to stop at. But I still think the engine's running a little hot. The temperature gauge doesn't seem to go down at all when the fans kick in, but the fans are kicking in. So today I'm checking the thermostat, which is located in here, just sort of mounted above the water pump. And what someone suggested was, well, if that's not opening fully, then water might be getting through as far as the auto switch and be hot enough to flick, to sort of engage the auto switch so the fans kick in, but not opening enough that sufficient water is going through to the radiator. So I'm going to get that out and give it a test to see if it's working properly. The other issue I've got is I do need to balance up the carbs and retune them, but I think that might be another job and another video. So that took a bit of getting out. Had to release the Jubilee clip on the hose leading to the water pump, and what else did I have to do? Obviously undo there's the bolts on top, but eventually got it out. It's interesting, it's a bit dirty, so I'm going to give that a clean up before I test it. But these things basically, there's sort of a few different settings, and I bet you can't see that, but inside there it's there's a temperature reading, so it's 82 degrees C or 180 degrees Fahrenheit. So this is a standard thermostat. So for standard sort of temperate climates, there's a hot weather or hot climate one which says 74 degrees. Now the idea is that when the water gets to that temperature, I think there's wax inside here that then melts, allowing it to open and to allow water through. So I think the idea is that you keep the water warm around the engine until the engine has warmed up sufficiently, and then that then lets water through once it's hotter to get to the rest of the cooling system, to get to the radiator. So I'm going to go and test this in the kitchen. So water temperature is approaching 74 degrees centigrade Celsius. So if it was one of the hot weather or hot climate thermostats, it will be opening or starting to open about now. So we've got a little further to go now to get to 82. So just passing 80 degrees. '81. '82. Now it should start moving about now, but I've also heard that maybe it will be a little way above it, because obviously all the wax has to melt before the spring actuates. So we're now at 85. Not sure what I'm expecting really, when I'm expecting an obvious opening, or it will just gently open. Actually I think, yeah, it is opening now. It is gentle. You can just see it coming away from the top. So we're now at 90 degrees. There's a definite sort of gap there, you can see, just between the plates. It's obviously not even, water's not at an even temperature necessarily on this gas hob. But yeah, you can see there's quite a big opening there, and we're at what, 94, 93. Isn't opening anymore. I think that might be as open as it will get. Obviously, so water starts to boil, so some of the water is obviously at 100 degrees already, and that is a sizable gap. Okay, so that suggests that the thermostat is working. So there you go, you can definitely see the gap there. That's quite a sizable gap. What's that, about 7-8 millimetre gap, and then as it cools down it will obviously close up again. But yeah, thermostat works, which sadly means the problem is further down the system, possibly the radiator. So my journey with the Lotus Esprit continues. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.